Headmaster Doggett, distinguished members of the faculty, undistinguished members of the faculty, you know who you are, parents, assorted relatives of the graduates, friends, the ghost of Governor William Dummer, angry members of the Dummer family who will swear vengeance on the trustees, and, of course, members of the Governor's Academy class of 2008 who are saying, God, I hope this guy, whoever he is, doesn't go on too long. 7 years ago. So see if you're paying attention. Okay. Hey, I am one of you, as you just heard. I never had a homeroom teacher. I'm a card-carrying preppy. I always say, sir and ma'am. I stand up when a lady enters the room. I open doors. I pull out chairs for women. I sprinkle French in with my English because I can. What's the sense of having an expensive Eastern textual education if you can't throw it up in somebody's face? Now, my school is and was Lawrenceville. And some of you must be saying, well, there's no such thing as a real prep school in New Jersey. But that just proves you guys don't know everything yet. It's a really, really good school, and it did completely change my life. I was educated, I think, in the true sense, at Lawrenceville. Now, society dictated then, as it does now, that we go on to this thing called college. I think it's a racket. I guess I'm not supposed to say that. But I strongly suspect that in a year or two from now, many of you will be wondering just when college is going to impart some important bit of knowledge to you that you didn't already know. Because, after all, you went to Governor's Academy. Now, consider this a sneak preview. Now, I'm not talking about you technical and scientific types. I'm talking about you flighty liberal arts types, like me. I ask the rest of you, please pay attention in class, especially if you're going to be a doctor. Now, if George Bush or Condoleezza Rice were here, you might be getting a major speech about domestic or foreign policy. If some CEO were here, you'd be getting some get ahead in life tips from someone who has a base of knowledge that I lack, which is an idea about how to make or manage money. But the unwritten rule of commencement speaking is that some kind of advice is dispensed. Well, I've lived a fortunate life for the past 40 years. I've traveled to 49 states and 20 foreign countries. I can tell you where to get a great breakfast in LA, where to have a nice cold beer with a great view of the Puget Sound, or even where to get a spectacular splurge dinner in Paris. And I think all these things are an important part of life. You know, much of the pleasure in life is derived from the little things. You can project grandiose long-term goals, but while you're working on achieving those, daily life goes on. And some days the best satisfaction you get is when you get a great parking space. I mean, it is so random. There'll be times when you'd be better off you got there 1 minute earlier when the guy pulled off. There'll be times when you wish you got there 1 minute later. And sometimes you drive around for an hour and you just pop in at the right spot. There's one space available. Getting that space will make you a better person, but it will make you a lucky one, and believe me, a happy one. Now, one thing you'll learn is that what makes a good day or a bad one depends on how the little things break. Did I hear my favorite song on the radio as soon as I turned it on? Did I get all the green lights on the way to work? Did my wife surprise me with one of my favorite dinners on the very day I've been thinking, boy, it's a long time since we had that meatloaf? And did I hear my favorite song on the radio? Yes? I know some of you are saying, what's a radio? Now, some things will never go the way you think they will. Take kids, for example. Now, certain things will surprise you as a parent, and certain things shouldn't. As the headmaster has assured you, your parents love you deeply. But this, I assure you, is an unconditional love, because though they may love you, that does not mean they do or ever will understand you. Now, all you kids sitting there, you know one thing, if nothing else. You know that your parents truly have no real idea what's rolling around up there in your head. They think they know you, but what they know is a semi-fictional character you were created to put in front of them when you got to be in their presence. Now, you kids have already figured out some things you're absolutely not going to do when you get older, right? For example, you will not be one of those hopeless, nagging parents. You will not yell at your kid to clean up his or her room. You will not make a big deal out of eating habits. You will. You'll keep insisting otherwise. No matter how old you are, you'll always look down the road and say, that's not cool. I'm not going to do that. For example, my wife says if she ever comes home and finds me wearing white shoes and a white belt, she's out of here. Forever. My kids have always been under orders that if they ever hear us talking about retiring to Florida, they can have us committed on the spot. Please, God, shoot me if I ever start rhapsodizing about the early bird special. Now, I'm warning you, it is going to happen. The way I'm telling you it will. There are always life realities. But in the matter of professional life, I do have some advice. The first and most important rule is, and please pay attention, if there was the slightest opportunity, start at the top. In other words, marry the boss's daughter. All right. That's what I did. I graduated from Boston College on June 3rd, 1968, and I started as a Boston Globe summer intern on June 10th, 1968. I'm still there. I got the interview to that internship through luck, but it was luck augmented by a little industry. The important thing is that I was ready for that interview, even though I did not know it was coming that far in advance. Now, here's something you might have heard before. Be prepared. I had done all the work necessary to be an impressive interviewer. I had worked on the school paper at both Lawrenceville and D.C. I had worked on a radio station at D.C. for 4 years. I had read the books about major sports figures and team histories, and I had gone to the games, and I had, of course, played the games. I had studied sport, and thanks to Lawrenceville, I had developed the one marketable skill I possess, an aptitude for writing. So when that interview came, I did not have to cram. I had the clippings they wanted to see, and I had my year's worth of sports and journalistic knowledge. So whatever your chosen field, whatever your field of expertise, be ready. I did not exactly know when I would need to put my preparation into action, and neither will you. There's one other very important detail. Make contacts, yes, and this is equally important. Make friends. Now, some of you know me from my participation on an ESPN Sunday morning TV show called The Sports Reporters. And this has led to me being on both Around the Horn and Pardon the Interruption. You know how I got on The Sports Reporters in the first place? Well, it's because back in the 70s, I became friendly with a writer from the New York Post named Joe Valerio. Now, he left the newspaper business sometime around 1975 to become a TV producer for ABC and CBS. And in 1989, he bought the rights to a new show called The Sports Reporters. One day in the fall of 1989, I got a phone call. It was Joe Valerio. We had not seen each other or spoken for 13 or 14 years. He told me he wanted me to become part of The Sports Reporters. Now, had someone else bought that show, he would have hired some of his friends. Had I not become a friend of Joe Valerio many years earlier, that very important door would not have been opened to me. Now, I grew up hearing, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And rightly or wrongly, it's true. You need to know something, and sooner or later, you need to know somebody. You do need to make friends. Just do me a favor. Don't call it networking. Some of you, maybe even a lot of you, will wind up at a job that doesn't even exist right now. Now, I grew up buying 45 RPM records and listening to the top 40 with AM radio. You download it to whatever. Technology rules. I work in a profession that will be unrecognizable in 15 or 20 years, maybe less. Right now, I write a column following a playoff game and then get in front of a camera to do the webcast. When I began, I had to type my own handwritten copy on the road, hand it to a guy from Western Union, who banged it out until it was transferred into the paper. When the copy was read and edited, and a headline written before the sheets of paper were put in a pneumatic tube and sent to the composing room, where a guy meticulously put the story into a linotype machine by hand. Now I write on the computer and send it instantaneously to the composing room, eliminating at least 3 middlemen. I guess you could say it's a geek's world. But even geeks need parking places. Even geeks appreciate a surprise dinner for their wives, and even geeks need friends. The best thing you're going to have is to know that this great experience you've had to spend time at a place such as Governor's Academy will shape you. I'm going to tell you right now, you will be more interested in your prep school alumni gatherings than your college alumni gatherings. Now, just as I'm telling you that your parents have no idea who you really are, I'm telling you that you have no idea how important this time at Governor's Academy has been. I was extremely fortunate to go to Lawrenceville. You are extremely fortunate to have gone to Governor's Academy. One short year from now, you will know what I'm talking about. Good luck to you all. I'm serious about those dining and drinking recommendations, and thank you so very much for sharing this beautiful and wonderful day with me.